Semitic Magic, Its Origins and Development by R. Campbell Thompson. To this class of beings, we must add some peculiar forms of entities whose description is fully portrayed in the cuneiform tablets. One, a sea monster, a form of Ea, is thus described. The head is the head of a serpent. From his nostrils, mucus trickles, his mouth being beslavered with water. The ears are like those of basilisk. His horns are twisted into 3 curls. He wears a veil in the headband. The body is like that of a such fish, full of stars. The base of his feet are claws, the soles of his foot having no heel. More important, from an anthropological standpoint, is the picture of Nintu, a form of the entity Mach. The head has a fillet and a horn. She wears a head ornament, and she wears a fly. The word Lamsatu in the text is ordinarily a kind of fly, although what it means here is doubtful. That a fly of some kind is quite clear from the determination in its ideogram. I think that we shall not be mistaken in seeing a cognate in the modern Arabic namus, mosquito, just as al-amatu in Assyrian, the Arabic armalat, and lamatu. She wears a veil, the fist of a man. She is girt about the loins, her breast being open. In her left arm she holds a babe suckling her breast, inclining towards her right arm, and from her head to her loins the body is that of a naked woman. From the loins to the sole of the foot, scales like that of a snake are visible. Her navel is composed of a circlet. It seems extremely probable that we have here the model for the numerous little clay figures which have been found from time to time during excavations possessing these characteristics. We should not be far wrong in considering them as votive offerings made by barren women who desired offspring. Nintu doubtless occupied the peoples of Mesopotamia in the position which Hathor held among the Egyptians and the Virgin Mary among Oriental Christians, a form of the mother entity who plays such an important part in many mythologies. And there's a Martin and text, what is you? Has published the translation of a text for man desiring to know whether he will have a male issue. O Shamash, Lord of Judgment, Adad, Lord of the Vision, the Lady Nintu. Oh, the Lady N, the name, his wife, who hath dwelt for long under his protection, hath borne only girls, and there is no male issue, and his heart is sad. I've translated Salmesh, Sinashata as girls is preferable to Martin's Shalmesh, Huru Esment. Okay. In Jewish demonology, we find Keteb Merere, a demon who reigns from 10 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. And, we're referring to not universal time, not daylight savings time, but like 12 is in the middle point of the day, rather than like in some areas where it's 1:47 or, and then there's no daylight savings time. From the 17th of Tammuz and to the 9th of Ab, described as having the head of a calf with one revolving horn in the middle, and an eye in the breast, the whole body being covered with scales, hair, and eyes. And the curious reader will see many points of similarity in Assyrian text, kindred to those that are quoted above. The form of the sea monster seems to find a parallel in the Testament of Solomon in the demon, which has the shape of the horse in front and behind a fish. a sea demon who creates a destructive wave, but this rather looks like a plagiarism of a Greek seahorse. And, while on the subject of a mother entity, it seems very possible that we have one akin to the polymastoid Diana of the Ephesians in the Assyrian queen of Nineveh, described ostentatiously by Nabu in the prayer of Ashurbanipal. Thou wert the babe, O Ashurbanipal, whom I have left in charge of the queen of Nineveh. Thou wert the weakling, O Ashurbanipal, whom I placed at the breast of the queen of Nineveh. Of the 4 breasts which were put to thy mouth, 2 thou didst suck, with 2 thou didst cover thy face. And now come to the 3rd class of spirits. Those are half human and half supernatural. From the standpoint of their particular existence, they must be accounted the most interesting of the 3 species, for it is not merely for this interest attaching to their nature that they are valuable, but the beliefs in their origin throw such a light on the primitive ideas cannot be reckoned too highly. The evidence that they were a very popular form of phantom is so well attested and convincing as to afford a firm base for certain theories on taboo that I hope to bring forward. Going back again for the 3rd time, the Assyrian incantations as the earliest Semitic beliefs, we must first of all discuss an interesting triad of ghostly visitants, the Lalu, Lalitu, and Ardat Lali. The second is obviously the feminine counterpart of the first, but it is difficult to discriminate accurately between the characteristics of the Lalitu and the Ardat Lali. Both the latter are, however, female demons, the femininity of the Ardat Lali being especially emphasized by the word Ardatu, which always has reference to the woman of marriageable age. The Ardat Lali seems to have had much closer relations with human beings than the Lalitu, and she always takes over the function of Lilith of the Hebrews, which is obviously the etymological equivalent of Lalitu. Lilith would be how it would be pronounced in the Bible. These functions are no more or no less that she becomes the ghostly wife of men, probably unmarried ones, if there's anything in the comparative folklore of the Arabs, by reason of her desire which forces her to roam abroad until she finds a mate. It is from this that we may find the derivation of the words Lilu and Lilitu. They are certainly not connected with the Hebrew Layla, night, as they either come from the Semitic root Lala, are from a Sumerian word Lil. If it be the former, there is no difficulty in referring to them at once to the words Lalu, to be abundant, and Lulu, lasciviousness, wantonness, that the rabbis should have compared Lila, night, with Lilith, was very natural, but in the view of the Syrians, our Sumerian origin of the word, this is now untenable. This view is also held by Martin, text Ligiu, that an angel of lust was known to the rabbis is apparent from Bereshith Rabbah 85, quoted by Maimonides, Guide to the Perplexed 2:4, in regard to the relation between Judah and Tamar. Rabbi Yochanan said that Judah was about to pass by without noticing Tamar, but God caused the angel of lust, the libidinousness disposition, to present himself to him. The Ardat Leli that hath no husband, the Idlu Leli that hath no wife. The latter is only the male counterpart of the first, occurring only here, as far as I know, with stress laid on its masculinity and itlu being the word for a grown man of full strength. We have, therefore, 4 phantoms of this nature to discuss: the Lelu, the Lilitu, and the Ardat Leli, with the rare counterpart, the Idlu Leli, leaving the last named alone for the present. The Ardat Leli, the true equivalent of Lilith, is the best known, and the Syrian incantations are quite clear from the descriptions of her character. First, then, we find the text quoted that she has no husband. This is amplified by the prayer to the sun on behalf of a possessed man. He on whom an evil spirit hath rushed, he whom an evil demon hath enveloped in his bed, he whom an evil ghost hath cast down in the night, he whom a great devil hath smitten, he whose limbs an evil entity hath racked, he the hair of whose body an evil fiend hath set on end, he whom hath seized, he whom hath cast down, he whom a robber sprite hath afflicted, he whom the Ardat Leli hath looked upon, the man with whom the Ardat Leli hath had union. And the Syrian of the 2 lines runs Shah Ardat Leli Itchurus Rusu Shah Ardat Leli Itchurushu Idlu Shah Ardat Leli Ek Remushu. Another text gives the following amplifications: Ardat Leli Inna Apti Ameli Izekba Ardatu La Shimta Shah Kima Sinishte La Arichatu Shah Kima Sinishte La Nakpatu. The Ardat Leli attacketh the man's dwelling, a maid untimely dead, a maid that cannot menstruate. Yurch is a word that's in the Aramea that we're seeing here. Like a woman that hath no modesty. And I'm not sure what the Nost? I don't know what the Syriac maybe. My Syriac's rusty. Kind of. The Lilu and Lili too must have had something of the same character, although we know very little about them. The question then arises to the Elu Lili, which is, as far as I know, Apax Lagamennon. Apax Lagamennon. It was. I was inclined to think at first that the Idlu Lili was nothing more than an academic invention of the scribes, parallel to the Ardat Lili, inasmuch as this text in which it occurs is merely a grammatical composition made up of phrases occurring in cuneiform grimoires, method manuals of spirituality. But when it is remembered, first, a woman in Semitic religion is liable to conceive through supernatural means, and that, secondly, these Assyrian incantations, as we have them, are written only from the male standpoint, doubtless verbally altered and exercising sickness in women, there are the strongest possible grounds for the existence of a male counterpart of the Ardat Lili and the phantasmagoria of the Babylonians. At any rate, it is absolutely certain, whether we consider the fellow of the Ardat Lili to have been called Lilu or Idlu Lili, the fact that remains that women, as much as men, were exposed to the possibility of marriage with the jinn and other invisible powers. In late Hebrew tradition, Layla is a principle of conception. Compare the Greek idea of the Sirens, who were very similar. It was laid down by Martin del Rio. Axioma iset, solent malefici et lamia, cum damonibus elli quitum. Succubis ha vero incubis, actum venerem exerce. Axioma do potestis etiam ex huius mode, concubitu damonis incubi proles nasce. About 200 years later, Francis Barrett published The Magus, in which the curious will see the beliefs current among those who held that magic was a true science concerning the semi-human monsters born of human and immortal parents, on the belief in succubi and incubi. See Horst, Sauer Bibliothek 616, who on page 118 quotes a discussion about them in a book published 100 years after Melanchthon's. It's like Seek of 1550 on the theme that some may think that demons who have assumed human shapes can mingle and generate with human beings. That jinn can intermarry with human beings is a well-attested belief of the Arabs. Such folk are always solitary and unmarried. Jalaluddin explains the advantage which men received from jinn was their raising and satisfying their lust and their appetites. Something related to Surah 6, George Sale was making a comment. This author of the book, published in 1650, denies on the grounds that the est enim damonibus semen. Springer, Malleus Maleficarum, 1580, has a chapter headed Anper Damonis Incubus et Succubus Detur Hominum Procreatio, page 37, which he answers, Damonis non vidicant, et quod corpus ergo nec semen paterunt mavere localetur de loco ad locum, page 39. See also Wire Histories, 288. Francois de la Randole, quoted on page 326 of Jean Wire's Histories of 1579, says, Ja e canu on hame name benoist berna, age de septen tesink ans de nombre de sis sacrificatures que nous nomens prestres lequel par le espèce de plus de 40 ans avoit coucha avec un daman quelu estoit familiar et lui apressoit informe de femme psialis. 11th century, in his dialogue on the operation of daemons, relates a conversation with a monk in Mesopotamia who really was initiated, the specter of demonic phantasms. Now, if he can translate some of these things, why not translate more of them? These magical practices he afterwards abandoned as worthless and deceptive, and having made his recantation, attached himself to the true doctrine which you profess, and assiduously implied himself, underwent a course of instruction at my hands. He accordingly told me many and extraordinary things about daemons, and once my asking if daemons were capable of animal passion, not a doubt of it, said he, Quem modum et sperma annuli et orum emittunt et vermes quostem spermata procreant at equinibile est in quam excrementa quam daemonibus anasse passata spermatica et vitalia, vasa quidem ais inquit ili hujusmode naba insunt superflue autem su excrementi nescio quid emetunt hoc nehe esserente credito. And there are many descriptions of Damons, Marcus, I ask again, there are many, said he, and of every possible variety of figure and conformation, that the air is full of them, both that above and around us, the earth and the sea are full of them, and the lowest subterranean depths. Now, if they giving us the transliteration of these formulas that we're going over, that's one thing, but comments. Marcus then recounts the Damons which Thracian affects to despise, but quotes a species, Illyrium, speaking in his barbarous vernacular tongue, a name which signifies igneous. On demons generally see Bacillus, Hypotypase des anciens dogmas des Chaldeans et Chagnet Damascus le Diadoque les Premier Principales 229. The clan of Amr bin Yarbu was descended from a Silat, or she-demon, who became a wife of their human father. Kitab al-Ishtiqaq. Okay. Palgrave cites it also. Sayce quotes as an instance that about 15 years ago there was a man in Cairo who was unmarried but had an invisible Jinnah as a wife. One day, however, he saw a woman and loved her, and 2 days later he died. He added that in Egypt, where early marriages are the rule, bachelors who have reached the prime of life are believed to have married Afrit, Afarit, or Jinn. In any other case mentioned by Baldenspeger was that of an epileptic servant who maintained that a female jinni was in love with him and used to strike him half dead to the ground. At Mosul, there was the same tradition, and I met it while discussing jinn and kindred subjects on the Mount of Nineveh one evening, when incidentally and entirely spontaneously, one of the men, Yaqub, told me that he knew a man in Mosul who declared that he was visited at nights by a spirit in the form of a beautiful woman who had already borne him 3 children, and was so pleased with this menage that he scorned a conventional marriage. Rabbinical literature is full of doings of Lilith, who bore to Adam devils, sprites, and Lilin, the Assyrian, Lalu. Whoever slept alone in a room was likely to be beset by her. Rabbah also, Sabbath 151b, quoted by Blau, das Altjude, Zabru 12. Rabbah relates how he saw Hermes, the daughter of Lilith. There was also a certain person or demon, it is unknown which, called Hernim Bar Lilith. The rabbis believed, too, that a man might have children by allying himself with a demon, and, although they might not be visible to human beings, yet when that man was dying, they would hover around his bed to hail him as their father. At the funeral of a bachelor, the Jews of Kurdistan cast sand before the coffin to blind the eyes of the unbegotten children of the deceased. Similarly, the Assyrian demon Alu owes its parentage to a human being. Bar Shalman, the legendary son-in-law of Asmodeus, the demon, After marrying his daughter, a princess, becomes the father of a son by her, but deserts her. The princess then pretends to renounce him, but begs a final kiss, which kills him. Another demon of the same kind, called Ornias, is described as saying, in the Testament of Solomon, "Those who are consumed with desire for noble virgins upon the earth, these I strangle." But in the case there is no disposition to sleep, I am changed into three forms. Whenever men come to be enamored of women, I metamorphose myself into a comely female, and then I take hold of the men in their sleep and play with them. And the three-formed relation to Otterman, but Asmodeus relates to sort of the archdemon, this equivalent to the demon of the angel of obedience. So Ashem or Kshem in the later version reference. In Palestine, it is said sometimes that women find that their best gowns, which they had carefully put away in their bridal chest, have been worn by female spirits during their confinement because they did not utter the name of God in locking them up. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is the typical way nowadays. Ornias, I'm not sure how that is rendered in Aramea or in even Hebrew. I don't think we had Hebrew quite at that point, but presumably the female spirit bedecks herself with a wedding gown when its proper owner is separated from her husband in order to attract his attentions. Among the Jews in Palestine, Lilith, or the evil eye in general, is averted from the bed by hanging a charm over it, consisting of a special Kabbalistic prayer in Hebrew together with a piece of rue, garlic, and a fragment of looking glass. On the first possible Sabbath, all of the relations assemble in the patient's room to make hideous noise to drive away evil spirits. And it actually has this, so I'm going to say this. For pictures of Hebrew amulets hung up. Oh, okay, I'll skip that. Telling where to look for amulets. On Jewish Lilith worship in Mesopotamia, the Jews of the present day write on the bed of the woman in childbirth and on the four walls of the chamber, Adam, Wichwa, Chutz, Libit. Adam and Eve, get out Lilith. You might make this Yitch, or Yitchid is uniting, coming in. Chdi is united, coming out. So there's formulas like that, but the Chutz is sort of the casting at, so sort of the exorcism word. On the other hand, women are equally open to attack from demons. Whatever view may be held of the Beni Elohim who took wives of the daughters of men, and it seems only reasonable to connect this legend with this form of superstition, Hebrew tradition undoubtedly shows an acceptance of this belief. In one of the few, Robertson Smith relates that in one of the few fragments of old mythology which have been transplanted unaltered into the Hebrew scriptures, we read of the sons of God who took wives of the daughters of men. Such a hero is the Izdubar of Babylonian myth. Examples of fabricated genealogies will be found in McLennan's Studies in Ancient History, chapter 9. To the subject of Beni Elohim, Horst adds the so-called Skais Teufel, Welch ir Grostes Vergnügen, daran sind ihre Exkremente an Orten ebnuligen, wo man's am wenigsten vermutet und dadurch die Menschen in peinlich Verlegenheit zu bringen. And Martin Del Rio remarks, vetustas abtrudit suas semideas Hercules serpedonis aneas seriuos talus anglia melenum pannonia honias ex arlunis strigibus gothicus et thonius nastas, and so on. The parentage of Isaac is but thinly disguised, and there is a remarkable story in Ezekiel 23 where Yahweh marries two sisters and begets children by them. This is an allegory, but when even a late prophet does not hesitate to introduce this concept as a figure of speech, it may be reasonably supposed that an earlier time found its only nature that Yahweh, as well as other entities, should have children by graciously visiting women of his choice. And we see that some of these things were, all the biblical books are really pseudepigraphical, except the the canonical ones is really multiple generations after. But as far as the Old Testament, we don't know who they are. Who wrote any of these. Again, it is the angel of Yahweh who foretells the birth of Samson. According to the Islamic tradition, it was Gabriel's breath, which he breathed into the Virgin Mary, that caused the conception in Perak 11:12. Cain's real father was not Adam, but one of the demons. In Assyrian mythology, the amours of the entity Ishtar with human beings were all too well known to need repeating. In the book of Enoch, wicked spirits are said to have been born of women, and the Holy Watchers and Justin the Martyr says that demons are the offspring of angels who yielded to the embraces of earthly women. We're seeing reference to Judges 13:3, Quran Surah 19 with the Mary, Genesis 11:1 and 2, and the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken, and Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age. Now God can play a specific role in a miracle without, but let's remember that the Bible in particular is a Judaizing of certain other accounts as spirituality. So